The most shocking thing you're going to be seeing in the next video is not the death chant by a musician in the UK in front of a crowd of tens of thousands. It's not the crowd even chanting back with him. It's actually the response of the white chicks after that concert.
Shock and awe at the UK's most famous and long-standing music festival.
Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
In front of a crowd of more than 30,000 people, punk duo Bob Vylan and several other well-known musicians took their anti-Israel chants to a dangerous new level.
Death, death to the IDF, death, death to the IDF.
That's the kind of death chants that we were used to be hearing in Iran, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, all kind of jihadist nations, not in the UK.
For 55 years, the world-renowned multi-day event has been known for promoting peace and love.
I wonder what changed. Maybe the peaceful migration they've welcomed to their continent?
But this year, the peace events were overshadowed by a sea of Palestinian flags and musicians inciting concert-goers.
It was epic. It was brilliant. Speaking up for the Palestinians is the most important thing that NECAP have done.
Epic, brilliant, chanting for the death of the entire group of people. And the most important thing, not what's happening in Sudan, not the massacre that was happening in Syria and that is still happening in Syria, not all the tragedies that are happening around the world. The most important thing for the people, for white chicks in the UK, is to call death to Israel and free Palestine. How detached can you be?
And no one, the publicity they've got from the being called terrorists has been amazing. Like, you couldn't have got a better publicity campaign, so well done to them.
Better publicity campaign. That's the same kind of people that will be cheering and chanting for Hitler during Nazi Germany. That is the kind of people.
But it was just such a nice crowd. Everyone was so happy, and the band themselves were just absolutely awesome. And no hate, no violence, just inclusivity, and they're speaking out, and I think that that's important.
Guy was standing there in front of tens of thousands of people chanting death to an entire group of people, and that was so lovely in her eyes. Let me tell you about the IDF. I was an officer in the IDF, and I've trained soldiers, and I've trained them not only to become soldiers, but first to become humans. I remember one time a very unique story. We were stationed in an outpost inside enemy territory, so it was a very dangerous place to be. Every day we had threats of kidnapping, RPGs, snipers, shooting, IEDs, explosive devices, you name it. Suicide bombers. That was the reality that we were living in on a daily basis. And one day I remember being woken up for a very suspicious activity by the entrance to the outpost. And the guy in the guard tower told me that there is someone that is trying to break inside the base. He's hiding next to the garbage, and he can't really have a clear, sight and shot at him. So everybody get alert. Everybody get alert. We call all the soldiers. We're ready, because it could be someone crawling to put an IED. It could be someone trying to break in and slit throat of people while they're sleeping. Could be many, many life-threatening situation. We come there. We go with the team, and as we're approaching, I suddenly see it's a little girl. Now, bear in mind, Palestinians have used little children and put explosive devices on them and sent them to blow themselves on Israeli soldiers. So this is not the first case. And we know that in Gaza, for example, they're often using children as soldiers or as human shields or as literally mules for explosive devices that they will detonate them. Not once, not twice. I've seen it with my own eyes. As I'm looking at this girl, I'm taking cover behind the cement. I started speaking Arabic to her, and I immediately recognized that I've seen this girl before. It was a girl that was born to a family that the father of the house was an elderly man. And he was very misfortunate to be living outside of his village, but too close to the Israeli base. Now, he's too old to walk all the way to the village to seek for work, and he doesn't have the permit to come and work in Israel. But he needs to feed his family. So I realized immediately that he was sending his daughter to go and roam through our garbage just so they can find food. And why is that? Because the Palestinians, they were stealing their own people, taking their money, taking their food to fund acts of terrorism. And this guy had no one to take care of. He doesn't have the state of Israel to take care of him. And obviously the Palestinians are not taking care of him. As a proud Arab man, he couldn't allow himself to come and roam through the garbage of the Zionists. But he was so hungry for his family that he sent his daughter to do that. She had no explosives on her and she wasn't any danger to us. I came and I called the girl and I asked her, what's your name? And she told me her name, and immediately I looked in her eyes. I think she was about 6, 7 years old. And I saw my sister. I literally said, this could have been my sister, your sister. She didn't do anything wrong. She was just born into this terrible reality and she's paying the price. And I told her, Habibti, that is the last time that you come and look for food in the garbage. And I told one of my soldiers, go fetch some food from the fridge. He went and he brought her some milk products, dairies, chocolates. He brought her rice. We brought her all kind of food. I put it in a bag and I gave it to her and I said, from now on, we will provide food for you and for your family. You don't need to go and look through the garbage. Now, one of my soldiers came and told me, listen, I understand what you did. And it's very kind. But do you understand that if it was the opposite, they would have killed you and they would have rejoiced over your dead body. They would be dancing over your body, paraded in the streets and giving each other baklawa. And here you're giving them food. Why are you doing that? And that was the moment that I've waited for. To have a real life opportunity that I can teach my soldier what it is to be a human before you are a soldier. And why is that? Because this is the entire essence of the IDF. They teach you that all the time. They say our job is not to create just war machines. You need to remember that these guys are going to come back and going to become your next bankers, accountants, taxi drivers, school teachers, lawyers. They are the next citizen of this nation. And we have a job to make sure that even though they go to the gates of hell and back, we are maintaining our humanity, our spirit. Now, I can tell you for certain that soldiers in Syria, in the Iranian regime, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, they don't treat their people very kindly. Heck, people in Syria, the soldiers were lighting up a barrel full of explosive with a cigarette while filming themselves laughing and pushed it on from a helicopter into schools, killing more than 500,000 of the children in Syria. In Sudan, there's more than 1 million people killed by the government. Now, where are these people? They're not saying death to Boko Haram. They're not singing death to the Assad regime, death to the Iranian regime. They don't care about that. They're saying death to the IDF because it is pure anti-Semitism. They just try to decorate it with different names. That's what it is. Because if they cared about human rights, they will be singing a whole different song. But that's what they choose to do. Anyway, I ended up establishing a location where we put food for this family on a daily basis from our own food, and my soldiers were all into it, and we made sure to take all the safety precautions so it doesn't come back at us, or no one take advantage and end up hurting our own troops for that. But that is the idea that this numbskull is calling right now to murder, kill all of them, men, women, all of the IDF, and the British people are chanting after him, feeling that they're the good guys. What does that remind us? Nazi Germany. One of the craziest things about Nazi Germany is that the Nazis, active duty, or their families and their friends, literally thought that they were the good guys. While they were rounding up people to death camps, executing them, they thought that they're the good guys. That's how it starts, and that's how it ends. And you can see in this picture behind me how it started. These festivals were all about hippie town. Now they look like a recruitment advertisement for jihad, for globalized intifada. It looks like literally, it doesn't look like, it is an invasion. You have more flags there of Muslim countries, radical ones, than your own country. By the way, these flags are not allowed in many Muslim countries because they represent Muslim Brotherhood. But in the UK, they're not only allowed, they're welcomed. That's how crazy the UK have become, and that's how crazy is Europe become. And that's what happened to any country that welcomed the pro-Palestinian or the Muslim Brotherhood jihadists among their midst. It never gets better. Radical Islam never de-escalates. It only escalates. And the moment that you allow it in your streets, it's only gonna escalate. Trust me on that. New York City is about to feel that. Every place that you go with a pro-Palestine movement ends up with Intifada revolution. And it saddens me to say, but many of these Western countries, very liberal countries, are about to find out. Actually, a funny comment that was sent to me by a friend from Finland who just came with his son to a concert in Berlin. And he came and he told me, where do you live? And I said, I'm living in East Germany. He said, oh, East Germany. Okay, I see there's not as many left woke people like in Berlin. And then I told him, it's funny how the places that are left end up being the least safe places for gay people and Jewish people, and the most safe places for radical jihadists. How does that work? I don't know, but it's always the same. If it's a very left town, it's not safe for Jews, it's not safe for LGBTQ. It's very safe for jihadists and Muslim Brotherhood. What does that tell you? You figure it out for yourself. Either way, guys, don't do anything stupid. Stay safe and see you next time.